We're joined today by Mitch Barling, director and owner of Barling Built. We've had a bit of a relationship now working, and very privileged to kind of get to know you as a person as well. You're a great bloke. Really excited to have you on and dive into your knowledge. You've been a builder for quite a while now, but firstly, I just want to allow you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
G'day guys, my name's Mitch. Yeah, I'm the owner of Barling Built, and I've been living on the Gold Coast now for about 7 years. I've come from Sydney and tried to start my building business up pretty much as soon as I got up here, and so far so good.
So you mentioned you're from Sydney.
Yeah.
Did you trade down in Sydney?
Yeah, I did my apprenticeship in Sydney and then went into site supervising pretty much straight away. Did a couple of years as Barling Built down there before I made the move up to the Gold Coast.
What do you reckon the difference was between the Sydney construction industry and the Gold Coast? Was there any kind of key differences you noticed when you moved up?
No real key difference, just a little bit difference in building principles and tie downs and things like that. Some of the architecture up here I find is a bit better than what it is in Sydney, but yeah, mostly pretty similar.
What about costing? Is there any cost differences in materials and labour?
Labour used to be more expensive in Sydney, but now I think Gold Coast has caught up in the last couple of years.
Catching up, it's obviously getting a bit more expensive as well.
Yeah.
Going back to your apprenticeship, so you did 4-year apprenticeship and you hung around for kind of how long before you decided to start your own company?
I was probably doing carpentry for 3-4 years.
Yeah. And that was a supervising role you mentioned?
Yeah, Yeah, well, supervising for, I guess, maybe, I don't even know. Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, okay.
5 years, yeah.
What advice would you have to someone who's looking to, maybe they've just completed their apprenticeship, they're eager to start their own business or go subcontractor? What bit of advice would you have for them?
I don't know. If you're thinking about it, just go out there and do it and take the plunge. And if you've got the right attitude and the right work ethic and you look after your clients, and you're going to go well.
Is there anything you would do differently knowing what you know now? You've been in the industry for so long, running your own company. If you were to start over, is there something like just like a light bulb moment that you would do different?
Nothing I can probably put my finger on, but
it's obviously a positive thing then.
There's things that I stuff up along the way, but if I don't stuff up, I don't learn. So
it's good to stuff up, I think.
Yeah,
definitely.
So there's obviously things you could go back and do differently, but then I don't know, you wouldn't be the builder you are.
What's the saying? I think it's not lessons, it's learnings or something.
No.
Maybe I
said it.
That's my quote, Carlton Woolsey. Let's reference that. I want to jump into it though. Obviously, providing information for people potentially going through a new build or looking to do their first renovation. What are some key areas that you think people have to spend money to get quality because it's such an important area of the home?
The key areas would be fixed items that aren't going to change after the job's finished. Windows are important. I think spending a bit more money on quality windows is a good thing. Things like flooring is important. Of course, the kitchen.
Thank you.
Yeah, those 3 things are probably pretty important.
So what's an entry-level window and what are you saying you spend more money to get better quality? What are you actually getting?
A designer series window frame is sort of also called semi-commercial. They're just a bit more chunkier. The quality's better. The rollers in the sliding windows and the locking mechanisms are a bit more quality as opposed to a residential series, which is sort of your plastic blocks and things like that make it cheaper.
And what are we talking price-wise? Like, is there a rule of thumb for those two kind of differences?
Steer away to the next level above. Residential series is probably a 30% increase in costs, and then it goes up from there.
And from your opinion, it's definitely worthwhile?
I think so, yeah.
Flooring. Let's chat about flooring. What are you've got entry levels.
The entry, probably your hybrid floors. Then you go up to timber, engineered floors, and then, they range from $60 a square metre supply to $250 a square metre supply.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah.
Massive difference in price in there.
Yeah, and quality, yeah.
So you think it's important, especially you mentioned, for things that are fixed and are not going to change after the build. So such things as flooring, going that solid timber, what's the benefit for it?
With the engineered floors, you can spend the more money and get a thicker veneer of hardwood on top of the ply base. So that allows you to sand and finish the floors a couple of times after they're laid. So
that's if they get damaged, you can go through and...
Yeah, damaged or just general wear and tear. Like in 5-year time, if you want to bring them up and bring them back to life, you can sand and polish them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So how does that go with a kitchen being installed? They can just kind of sand around whatever's there? Or?
Yeah, that's pretty standard. Like normally your hardwood floors are sanded and polished after the kitchen goes in. So yeah, that's all normal.
before jumping on the podcast as well, we're kind of chatting about areas where you can save money, and everyone loves to save money. What are some areas we've spoken about key areas to spend money in, but what about save money where you can kind of maybe do a cheaper alternative and get away with it?
I think, like we discussed, what a lot of clients are doing are saving money in kids' bedrooms and putting in cheaper wardrobe.
Yep.
Not spending all the flash money on bloody cabinetry.
I might just add with the kids' wardrobes, it's probably, especially if they're young kids, they're growing up, it's going to get damaged. There's no point spending thousands of dollars on these U-Butte. Obviously different for master walk-ins. If you've got a master, you can definitely prioritize the money there because the parents or the homeowners are going to get use out of it. But yeah, a great way to save money is doing a cheaper alternative wardrobe.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, there's different kind of aspects as well. What mistakes do you see first-time renovators making? What, you're in the industry, you see a lot. What's one kind of key thing you see mistakes getting made?
First-time renovators?
What about budgeting? Do you think budgeting's kind of consistently going over?
Yeah, I think that everyone's struggling with budget at the moment. Renovations that used to be 200 grand, 300 grand are now 40% more.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I think most people don't understand the cost of what they're building until after they get quotes from builders.
Yeah.
And they generally are surprised at what they're coming back at.
So definitely planning your budget. Like I know with our renovation, we had a budget and it fucking blew out so quickly just because you're not aware of all the minor costings.
Unforeseen things that can pop up during renovations are also things you've got to take into account. I think if you do get a price from a builder, you still got to have at least 10 to 20% sort of in your back pocket just in case.
Just a little bit of play so you can go up or down.
And you always want to change design along the way and improve things as you're going. So
yeah,
if you don't have that flexibility when you start, it could probably be a pretty stressful
You could shoot
process.
Yourself in the foot pretty easy.
Yeah.
So obviously, again, not making those changes, is it an idea to try get clients or those renovators to be confident with what they've chosen and try stick to that and ride it out? Otherwise, there is going to be variations, isn't there?
Yeah.
DIY, I want to chat about DIY and people who have either bought their first home and they want to try to have a crack at doing something themselves. What are some key things that, a DIY or someone who's not in the trade could have a crack at to make a difference in their home?
Well, there's plenty of things you can have a crack at.
If it's going to be good or not, it's a different story.
Whether or not you're going to get the quality from a licensed trade is a different story.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like to have a crack at painting, but it's definitely somewhere where you can save money, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
I think getting a quality professional painter in is the lipstick on the end of the job.
Yeah. So it's a finishing trade.
It's the finishing touch. I'll look anywhere that is a DIY. I don't think you're going to get the quality that you get from a licensed trade, but yeah, there's always areas where you can do things yourself, but just be prepared. It's not going to be as good as it could be. Yeah,
and I guess if you're willing to have a go, that's the most important thing. But what about things like VJ paneling to a wall? Someone who isn't a qualified tradesman, they could probably do that and achieve a pretty decent look. What do you think?
I've seen DIY do a pretty bad job on that too. So yeah, if you got a bit of handy skills, you could attack things like that. Yeah.
And even something like, changing door handles, how that can have a change in the look of the place. It's just those little things that if they don't have a budget to get a licensed trade in and they're just willing to have a crack, is there any other kind of key things you'd recommend?
Yeah, I guess you can screw door handles on yourself and save a couple $100. But yeah, I think ideally, if you're going to hire a licensed builder, you'd want them to take care of everything from start to finish.
Yeah. So just obviously, what does that alleviate? Is it peace of mind? Is it, for them knowing the job's going to get done right?
Yeah, I think you're just not stepping on anyone's toes along the way. And then there's just a clear understanding of who's responsible for what happens on the job from start to finish.
With new builds, we've obviously got to be, pretty careful. You are a builder and the jobs you're doing are phenomenal and we work together, which is great, and we get to have a good time on site. What do you see with the new build side of things? What do you see people kind of shooting themselves in the foot with? Are they trying to manage kind of trades themselves as well and kind of get in between, or what's the issue?
I try and steer away from that a lot, but I think I've had some projects where clients want to use their own trades.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't work. Like as much as you think it's going to work, then I don't have control over what they're doing, and it just creates a little bit of awkwardness on the build.
Just simply because you don't know them as well. It's just not having that relationship with them.
Yeah, I'm also not paying them. So what they do, I'm not really responsible for. Yeah. So if there's something that they're doing that I'm unhappy with, it's not really my place to pull them up because it's out of my contract and out of my scope, I guess.
Yeah. So to kind of, wrap that up and conclude it, you'd probably suggest if you're going to contact a licensed builder to take care of a renovation, utilising their trades is just a much smoother process.
I think so. I think just get them to take care of the whole project, and every trade falls under them, and they're responsible from everything from start to finish.
Just peace of mind for the clients as well.
Yeah.
I want to switch it up. We've had multiple conversations about apprentices, and I guess the change in generation and maybe a bit of lack of work ethic, but advice for maybe someone who's wanting to start a trade or get involved. For you being a business owner and having apprentices, what's something you'd recommend for those apprentices if they're going to take on a trade?
I think the most important thing is to just show that you're keen. Obviously, you're not going to be very skilled at the start. You're not going to know a lot, which doesn't matter because that's our job to train. But the most important thing is to just turn up on time, do your hours on site.
Not be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, I'll ask questions. There's no stupid questions, just stupid answers.
Yeah. You give plenty of those.
But yeah, just show that you're keen and have a good work ethic, and then you'll do a good job.
And that kind of differs a potential bad apprentice from a good apprentice.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
What do you see as the apprentice years go on? There's obviously expectation for their skill level to go up, and what are kind of you're taking on an apprentice and you want them to stick around. What are kind of those key things you want to see over the years, then progress?
You'd like to see that you can leave them with a task and they can complete it confidently.
Yeah.
And then maybe take on a little bit more responsibility along the way. And hopefully the older apprentices are then passing on their knowledge to the younger apprentices in the crew.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Okay. Beautiful. The last thing we love doing with all our guests is there's a billboard for the world to see. What's one thing Mitch Barling would write, whether it's a mantra, a saying, there's no stupid answers. The world can see it. What would you write on it?
On the billboard?
On the billboard.
Oh, this is really on the spot, isn't it? Sorry.
That's the point of it. What's one thing you say every day?
What's one? I can't say that.
I know many things you say every day.
Yeah, I don't know. Just don't let the small things bother you. One day we're all going to be dead.
Right. Fair enough. It's the truth. It's absolutely true. Mate, thank you so much for your time. Love working together. Love being able to sit here and have a conversation. And hopefully someone's taken a few key points for this moving forward on their renovation. So yeah, thanks again, mate.